his attention and give her team a clear shot at his back. Grigori pecked and bit and licked at her, but no one came out of the trees. She stole a quick glance over his shoulder, but there was no one there. The jagged tips of his bitten nails scratched her shoulders when he forced her down into a squat. His zipper was already opened. Without hesitation, she tugged at his belt, whispering guttural moans about her hunger for him. His response was uncoordinated and pathetic. For all his impatient fondling, he still wasn't hard when she reached into his pants. So useless. Chris was always ready. He could take his time and excite her long before he took off his clothes. Where was Chris right now? And where was her backup? Why were they taking so long? Nikki gagged when he forced himself between her lips, but not because of his size or ability. The stench of stale smoke was so embedded in his clothes and his skin that she thought she might pass out from smoke inhalation. That might be better. At least then she wouldn't have to endure the brutal way he yanked at her hair or the impotent thrusting he pushed into her face. Nikki moaned and whimpered to dupe Grigori into believing he was a great lover, stealing glances into the darkness to catch a glimpse of her backup. There was a welcome rush of fresh air when he pulled her up by her hair and pushed her back up against the wall. The light was fading, and she still couldn't see anything beyond the trees. Did the team get compromised? The possibility was always there. After they sent the text message, something or someone might have intercepted them or forced them to retreat. She might be alone. Grigori could just be pretending to be drunk. Maybe he had lured her into a trap instead of the other way around. In her moment of confusion and distress, Grigori forced her legs open. Wedging himself between her legs, he tugged her panties away just enough to get inside. He jabbed at her blindly. When Nikki realized that he didn't have a condom, she tried to push him away, but his weight and his feral determination overwhelmed her. After half a dozen barbaric attempts, he found his way, and it took everything Chris taught her not to scream. Nikki hissed false praise into his ear to maintain the facade because she didn't know what else to do. If she was alone, she would have to find her way out of the club without drawing the attention of half of Miami's Russian underworld. If her team was exposed, then it might be too late for her to escape. What would they do to her if she got caught? If this was the way Grigori fucked, she could only wonder what the torture would be like. And this fuck was a completely different issue. Even if she did manage to escape this party, she might be walking away with all sorts of diseases. What would Chris think of her then? Would he still want her? Could he? Grigori's back began to spasm. That could only mean one thing. Something that she could not let happen. The mission didn't matter anymore. Seducing Grigori didn't matter. Raising her heel and driving it into his knee, she pushed him down and out of her just as he began to dribble all over his pants. The thug stumbled back. His face was a mask of drunken rage and pain, but before he could say a word, it was over. The first time Nikki saw someone get hit with a taser, she thought the man had died of a heart attack. First, there was a sharp crackle of electricity. His limbs stiffened. His eyes shot back into his head. He collapsed on the ground like a discarded puppet. She knew he wasn't really dead. But she never got over her fear of the little black box. Nikki heard a sharp electric crackle as Grigori opened his mouth. Before the thug could hit the ground, 2 sets of hands scooped up his limp body and carried him into the shadows. They moved with precision and speed. These men had performed this shock-and-snatch maneuver dozens of times before. Without a word or a glance back, the large shadow with the taser slid back into the dark, leaving Nikki.